Welcome to Eurogas Let's Talk. I'm Bronagh O'Hagan, the Communications Director for Eurogas. With these short videos, we'll be speaking to stakeholders from across the energy sector about gas in the transition. And today I'm very pleased to welcome Eurogas President and Executive Vice President of ENGIE, Didier Holleaux. We'll be speaking about the situation in the energy markets at the minute, including the very serious issue of prices.
Yes, these are very serious times. First, it's serious because everybody recognizes that the climatic change is taking dramatic proportion and that we all need to act on that. And the second reason is that because the current level of prices is very serious, and I would say even deadly serious for some of our customers. And definitely we cannot be indifferent to what's happening to our customers. On top of these two elements, clearly the pandemic added a new level of complexity and also explained part of the crisis we are facing. So it's a very important, very serious situation for us, and as Eurogas we need to show that we are taking it seriously and that we are both addressing the climate change issue and the price issue.
And a serious situation also with very broad-reaching effects. It's fair to say a lot of people are keen to understand how we got here.
Well, in fact, as far as the prices are concerned, it's really a matter of supply and demand. On the supply side, we must recognize that there have been a number of different incidents on the upstream part of our industry, so the production of natural gas, the liquefaction of natural gas. We have had technical incidents in Norway, in Peru, in Algeria, today in the US. There have been extended maintenance during summer 21 because of the pandemic. Maintenance in 2020 was limited, and therefore maintenance has been postponed to summer 21, and that explains why on the offer side, on the supply side, natural gas was more scarce than usual. On the demand side, there have been an increase of demand for at least four main reasons. One is economic recovery post-pandemic. The second one is increased demand in Asia, and particularly in China, because China is converting some of their coal-fired plants to gas-fired. And that's good news for the climate. A third reason is that in some countries which are normally relying on hydraulic power, drought has led them to use gas-fired power plants instead. That's the case for Brazil, that's the case for Turkey. And the last one, which is not the least, is that because the winter last year was very cold, particularly at the end of the winter, the gas storages were empty in the northern hemisphere, and we need to replenish them. So when you see such impact on demand and supply, it's not surprising that the prices went up.
Yeah, it's a good overview indeed of what's led into this situation. I suppose the next question is, what's the way forward?
Well, we expect that the pressure on prices will go down a bit because a number of plants which have had incidents are coming back on stream, because we hope that the drought in Turkey and Brazil will end up with the winter, because the limited amount of wind that we had during the summer could also come back to normal during winter, and all that will normally alleviate the pressure on the gas market and bring the prices at a lower level. But in any case, the situation is serious, and in order to make it more sustainable for our customers, we welcome the efforts by many states to support the less favored customers with economic support so that they can face their bills, And we also welcome the efforts by some industrial customers to go more into long-term contract to avoid the short-term impact on prices.
There's been a lot of discussion in Brussels about this, what can be done on the legislative side. So we hear options like reinforced storage, obligations, joint purchasing platforms. People in some corners are saying total market reform is necessary. I think for the viewers today, it's interesting to hear your thoughts on these conversations.
Well, as I said, the situation is so serious for our customers that we as an industry cannot take any proposal to solve the situation lightly. We have to consider all of them seriously and see what can be done. That being said, market reform would take ages because it took decades to build the market, the energy market as we know it. So no short-term relief can be expected on that side. Joint purchasing platform, it's complicated. We know that there are competition issues involved and the liabilities and so on. So we can still look at it, but we see it as complicated. Reinforcing storage obligation. Well, we know that it's workable and that it brings some relief on the security of supply side. That has been done in France, in Italy. So it may help, but the impact on price remains to be seen. And last but not least, I would say that perhaps different balance between short-term and long-term contract in both the gas and power industry may also help to avoid some volatility on the gas price market.
And yeah, it's a complex situation. I think I can preempt your answer a bit to the claims, for example, that the market's feeling.
Well, as soon as you choose to have a market on energy like gas, power and so on, you cannot really say that the fact that the prices are high when the supply to demand balance is tight is a sign that the market is not functioning. In fact, ACER just last year assessed the market and said that the gas market is functioning. The question is, how do you avoid the worst consequences of this volatility and very high prices for the most sensitive customers? And that's really the issue we need to address.
Indeed, for the most sensitive customers. So, for example, you've mentioned long-term contracts. That's a situation that we have to navigate as well. And I think it is good in this conversation if we talk about the criticism that we hear. So for long-term contracts, we hear the criticism that this can lead to lock-in.
Well, I have heard these lock-in arguments times and again. I don't really think it's so relevant. First, there is a general consensus that natural gas will be needed until 2045. So you have plenty of time to depreciate, amortize your assets before this date. And particularly because some of the assets we are speaking of, like compressed natural gas station, will be amortized within 5 years or 10 years. So this lock-in argument is not really relevant. Second, a lot of our gas assets could be repurposed for biomethane or for hydrogen, and therefore they will not be stranded. So I don't take the lock-in argument as a serious argument against long-term commitment, be it contract or investment.
Beyond DDA, beyond long-term contracts, what would you say is the way forward?
Well, the way forward is to keep on working on decarbonization of our gas industry with a very clear aim to be able to fully decarbonize the gas industry shortly after 2045. And the first step is really to address the Fit for 55 package by the Commission and the decarbonization package that should come on the table shortly, so as to have legislation which is preparing the future market for green gas and decarbonized gas, and make sure that biomethane, green hydrogen as well as other decarbonized gas will have a well-functioning market and will play a huge role in the future European economy.
Yeah, I agree with you here. It's huge changes coming really across the sector, across the market. So the companies, the Eurogas members, the policy framework, the investor framework, it really all has to offer something very new at this stage.
Yes, I think we are really shaking up the framework in which our industry is working, and we need to make sure that the next framework is fully adapted to the energy transition we have to handle in the next 25 years.
Thank you to everyone who tuned in for our first edition of Eurogas Let's Talk. Thanks very much also to Didier Holleaux for joining us today as our first guest. We'll have more editions of Eurogas Let's Talk in the coming weeks, so please do keep watching.